Good morning, and today's Ace 5. So I played this hand recently. I was a pre-flop aggressor, so just kind of get you up to speed. We have two limps, and I ISO raise them for 6 big blinds, cutoff calls, and villain 10 calls. So villain 10's a loose passive. Villain 14, I only have 36 hands on him. So the flop comes out 2-3-8. So pretty dry board. I do have the gut shot draw on here, so it gets checked to me, and now it's my decision. What do I do? So when I bet, I'm gonna c bet here, and I get this guy calls, and villain 10 folds. So we're gonna focus on my play against this villain. So what are ranges? I just have my standard MP raising range. I don't adjust it for the limpers at this point. I probably will in the near future, but that's my raising range. And then I had to come up with villain 14's range with only 36 hands. He's playing 36-3, so he's not super loose. I mean, he's loose. Definitely, he appears to be loose passive. In the cutoff, he's called a 2-bet 2 out of 3 times, so he's not really 3-betting. If he plays, he's just going to call it. All right. I don't have him 3-betting at all, so I kind of started with this range. But I think what I'm going to do is take out aces and kings, and probably queens. So let's do queens plus ace king and say that this is his that is his like raising range. Like I so he's gonna raise with those hands 3-bet and probably just try to get it all in with those hands. It would be my guess. So that's what we're gonna go for, and then what we're gonna do is look to see, based on this range, how should we play? What does GTO suggest? How does GTO suggest we play? Should we be betting? What happens if we hit the turn? What happens if we miss the turn? What happens if the turn is like the worst, the 4 of spades? What, do we continue betting? What, do we check call? What do we do? So I have it set up here. Tree's already run, so you can see that it looks like my decision here is to bet 83% of the time, check 16.7% of the time. It looks like we are checking like ace jack, ace 10, ace jack, ace 10 suited, about half the time checking with ace queen. So we could probably say we can check ace queen, ace jack, ace 10 suited, and then check ace jack and ace queen. Definitely we're going to favor a raise if we have the ace of spades, and it looks like also the queen of spades for ace queen off. Jack of spades has less pull in terms of the raise, or as in terms of the betting. We're kind of trips. We are kind of playing a mixed strategy, so I think I would bet that if we check and he bets, we're going to be raising those. Yeah, we are mostly raising those hands. So I think what we're doing with those hands is trying to trap on this fairly dry board. We're going to try to get villain to invest more money in the pot so that when we raise, he's going to be pot committed and we can get him in. My hand was ace 5 of diamonds, and I'm glad that this shows me that I made the correct decision to bet. I like that. We're betting because we've got the gut shot. I mean, simple as that. We're betting because we have a gut shot, and because it's unlikely that villain really hit this flop hard. My plan is to continue with 2 streets on a favorable board. I think if I bet, he could be calling with some overcards, with some Broadway cards. And if the turn card isn't that good, I could probably get him to fold, or I hope to get him to fold. So I did bet. I bet half pot, and now it's up to villain. What does he do? And he's looking like he is going to be folding all of his, or he should be folding the vast majority of his Broadway hands. So king, queen, king 10, jack 10 type hands. We do have some raises built in, and these are, the pink is just to raise, I guess, half pot, and then The blue is to raise all in because he's not very deep. So what are his raising ranges? And it looks like it's going to kind of be a mixed strategy. It looks like he is raising his flush hands is what he should be raising. Looks like he's, yep. Ace queen looks like it's kind of half raise, half call. Ace jack looks like half raise, half call. Nah, ace queen's half raise, half call. Ace jack's closer to mostly call. We do have some folds though. So like the non-flush draw, we get backdoor flush draw can call. Ace eight's definitely getting all in. Ace fives should be getting all in. Ace three, ace two, any of those pairs should be getting all in. So he should be doing that. Now in the hand, villain calls. The villain calls, and then the turn is a 9. 9 of hearts. All right, so if villain plays GTO and the turn is a 9 of hearts, how do we play it? And it looks like we are still betting a large proportion of the time, and actually we're just betting him all in. We're getting him all in, and we're getting him all in with any of these middle hands. We're getting him all in with a lot of these hands. I guess ace five, we're gonna check, possibly. So ace five suited, we're gonna possibly check, and maybe that's a check call. Let's see here. So he checks, and let's say he bets, and we call. Yeah, we're check calling those. So I think that's okay. Hands that we are checking, I think that's kind of important to note. Ace six, the non ace six, ace seven non-flush draws, we're checking. King 10 non-flush draws we're checking, and king jack non-flush draws we're checking, and surprisingly I guess we're checking most of our aces. That is interesting. So I'm going to go back to here. About half the time we were betting aces, so let's say he checks and we bet, and then we're going to check raise. If we have the ace of spades, we can call a bit more. Okay, so if we have the ace of spades, we can call a bit more, but just looking to see how things play out. So I think that's rather interesting. I would have expected aces to continue betting. I mean, ace king bets, kings bet, queens bet, jacks bet, but aces do not. Aces are going to favor checking here. I guess so. The only time we would really prefer to bet is when we don't have the heart or the spade. So ace diamonds, ace club, only one combo. All right, so cool. So I did bet, and then let's look at villain's calling range. He should be calling with, all of these overcards. So these are flush draws. Ace queen is rather interesting. So he's going to be calling with ace queen of diamonds, ace queen of clubs. So just, I guess, bluff catching at that point. But he's calling with his trips and so forth. Was he raising with trips here? So when I bet, is he going to raise? He raises. No, he calls with twos. He calls with threes. He calls with eights. So he's slow playing these. And I think that's justified. Why shove all in and allow me to fold? Let me call. Hope I bet on the turn, which I did. So that's interesting. Let's go back here to his calling range and see if we've got some things to kind of fix. So let's see. We are going to... So hands that I think he would have just called. I kind of think he's going to play these aces as a raise, but we're going to leave them as is. I think all of the other flush draws, like these kings, he should probably be... I mean, GTO says you're raising with those, but I think those are hands where players call. So let's get to that. I want king 10 to call. guess I'm gonna have to go one by one. So let me pause and get these. I'm gonna say all of these instead of where it says the raise. I'm gonna say he's just gonna call those. So let me pause and get everything set. All right, so we did do this. I got it set up. So what I did, let me show you what I did, is with our flush draws, I'm going to leave GTO play for the aces. I think I would hope he raises those. Or we'll assume he plays GTO, and with the nut flush draw, he's just going to raise all in. But I have him calling with all of the non-nut flush draws. With the open-ended straight draws, I have him calling those as well. This was some of them he calls. So like with the spade or the heart, he was going to call. It's and then the diamonds and the clubs, GTO suggested he raise. We're just going to say he would have called those. The only other question I had were these over pairs. I'm going to leave them as GTO, but I think what we'll do is we'll look at decisions now based on our adjustments, and then we'll kind of add in all these calling and say, okay, this player is short stack. He's not gonna be aggressive and push us all in. He's just gonna check call and hope that we do the betting for him. So with those new filters, yeah, we're gonna be betting 99.3% of the time. He does call. We're gonna say he calls, and now what do we do on the turn? And it looks like we are still in the same situation. We are going to be betting almost all the time. We do have some checks with King 10 diamonds and clubs. So it's really, if we have any checks, it looks like it's going to be that diamonds and clubs. Do have some checks with ace 10, but I bet that's just, ace 10 of spades. That's probably just to kind of protect the King 10. So yeah, we did bet, and then it's up to Villain, and he is going to be calling all of those. So let's go back to this call and say, so I like my bet, my C bet. I like my turn bet here. It looks like GTO is suggesting that we should be doing that. Let's go ahead and change the overpairs, select form, and let's say instead of him having any sort of a raising range, we are just going to have him set up as calling range with all of those. I do think sets is already in the calling range. We'll leave the top pair. So let's run our solver. And this is actually going pretty quick. So we're still betting. We have him call with that 9. And then it has us still betting a lot of it. Not as much. So we can kind of hang back with some of the a6s. But we're going to be aggressive with our draws. We're going to be aggressive with our pairs. All right, so that's good. That's good to see. All right, so what happens if we change it? So 9 of hearts was kind of somewhat innocuous. Let's say we had a 9 of clubs. Does that change it? So now we bet, right? We still bet, and then let's say he calls. Now we've got a slight change. Ace 5 is going to be still bet. Ace 5 of diamonds is still going to be a bet. Ace 5 of clubs is going to be a bet. But now we can kind of check with Ace 5 of spades. And I wonder if Ace 5 of spades we're check calling in this case. But we're still going to be aggressive. Aces is still a check. That's interesting. Let's say we had a high card. Let's say Queen of Hearts this time Broadway. How does that change? So we're calling flush draws. We're calling. Villain's calling flush draws, calling open-ended straight draws, calling over pairs. What now? Now we're checking a bit more with that queen, and I think that's kind of interesting. I think with a queen that helps our range, or helps our perceived range, should increase our fold equity. But GTO suggests we're checking our aces. We're still betting aggressively with our draws. So I'm glad, again. Hopefully I'm learning that this is solid play. We're betting with some trips with 2s and 3s. We're betting mostly with 8s. And it looks like we're betting these hands. Not sure why we would bet jacks. A lot of this is mixed strategy. Does look like with a heart we're betting, but with the spade we're checking. Probably because if we have the spades, it makes it harder for villain to have the spades to call with the spades. So we don't want to bet and get it all in on a draw. So let's say we checked and he bets all in. Do we call? We call with the hearts. Yeah, and then we call with the spade. So we are check calling with the nut flush draw when we do that. All right. Now, let's do the last one. Worst possible card, or what I would consider to be the worst possible card, 5 of spades. What's did I have? I had ace 5. Whoops. We bet. He calls. Yeah. So now we're turning mostly to checks. Spade got there. We have a weak pair. We're betting kings, queens, jacks. I bet we bet if he raises. If we, well, we're betting him all in anyway. So I guess if he has the spades, he has it. Definitely with kings, we check with the king of spades mostly. Well, we bet. Change this to 5. I lied. We're going to do 4 spades. I think the worst card gives us a straight, but it puts a flush up on the board. So I guess same situation here. Yeah, we're changing those numbers. 4 spades gets there, and we do become more of a check. Ace 5 still betting though, so ace 5 of diamonds bets. Ace 5 of spades does not. Ace 3 of spades checks. So the nut flush checks when it gets there. Okay. So when the spade gets there, the nut flush checks. Interesting. All right, so I think we're going to end it here. I think really key point, something that I'm working on is increasing aggression post flop, and it's good to see that, at least from the GTO analysis, we need to continue being aggressive, even if we have a gut shot. We don't know what he's doing. We don't know what his real flop calling range is. He's going to have to call a little bit wide to keep us honest, because we can't like c-bet 100%, which means if he does that, he's going to have to start folding hands on the turn or on the river. So I think that's an interesting point here. So all right, hopefully you enjoyed this. Look tomorrow for another hand.